Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really hitting the track, taking an in-depth look at Marc Marquez and his, well, frankly, stunning 2025 season so far with Ducati.
Yeah, and we've got some great insights to work with, drawing from those Motorsports by Alex videos.
Exactly. Our mission, if you will, is to really dissect Marquez's current performance.
Yeah.
Compare it back to those legendary Honda years.
And see how he's measuring up against his teammate now.
Right. And the big question, that sort of burning question is, are we seeing the absolute best version of Marc Marquez right now? Peak Marquez.
It's a fascinating debate because it's not just about counting the wins, is it? It's about digging into the subtleties, his riding style evolution.
How the Ducati is actually responding to him.
Yeah, and how all that stacks up against that almost like mythical aura he had back on the Honda. It's a proper deep dive into how a champion evolves.
Okay, so let's kick things off. Where did it all start for him in the Premier class? MotoGP debut, 2013.
That's it. And bam, straight in, wins the championship as a rookie. I mean, that just announced him, didn't it? A special talent, a real prodigy.
No kidding. And it wasn't just a flash in the pan.
Oh, definitely not. Between 2013 and 2019, what was it, 6 Premier class titles? It was just dominance.
A level you rarely see. That feeling that when he and the Honda were, perfectly in sync.
They were basically unbeatable. It wasn't just luck. That streak showed incredible synergy, set a new benchmark, really, for modern MotoGP.
And then Jerez 2020. That huge crash, that really felt like a turning point.
Absolutely pivotal. Kicked off a really long, tough recovery. Physically, yes, but also adapting how he rides.
And that journey leads us here, 2025, on a Ducati.
Precisely. A whole new chapter. And wow, the start to this season. Pretty spectacular, wouldn't you say?
Spectacular is the word. 3 wins in the first 4 races, Argentina, US, Qatar, plus leading the sprints, grabbing poles early on.
It's a massive statement. He's hit the ground running.
And it's how he's winning, too. The sources point this out. It's that classic Marquez aggression we all know. But now it seems, blended with more strategy, better race management.
Yeah, it looks like it. And that seems to be paying off in more consistent finishes, more points than maybe we've seen the last couple of years from him.
What really stands out is what he said himself. Something like,
I've never felt this good on the bike since that GP, referring back to Jerez 2020.
That says a lot, doesn't it? About his confidence, his feeling on that Ducati GP25.
It speaks volumes. Comfort, trust in the machine, it's all there.
Which naturally brings up the whole debate about the bike itself. Is the GP25 just the best machine out there right now?
Well, it certainly looks dominant with Marquez riding it. But, the analysis we looked at, the Motorsports by Alex stuff, it rightly points out that KTM, Honda, they're not standing still.
Always developing. They could close that gap.
For sure. But right now, the Ducati's versatility, especially with Marc showing what's possible, it does seem like the most adaptable bike.
That's a good point. Dominance shifts so quickly in MotoGP. That Marquez-Ducati combo is potent now, but the others are pushing hard. Relentless development.
Exactly.
Okay, let's really dig into this comparison now. 2025, Marquez versus, the legend of the Honda years. Let's rewind to 2014. The source called it absolute dominance.
And it was 10 consecutive wins. 10. That just cemented him, didn't it? As Honda's main guy after Stoner left.
10 wins in a row in MotoGP? That's almost hard to comprehend now. Just sustained excellence.
Showcases raw speed, that perfect harmony with the Honda then. It wasn't just luck, like we said. Total synergy. A benchmark season.
Then jump forward to 2019, described as his most consistent campaign.
Yeah, maybe slightly fewer outright wins than 14 overall, but 9 wins, 14 podiums in 19 races.
Whopping 325 points, wrapped up the title with 4 races left.
And he finished top 2 in 14 out of 19 races, led hundreds of laps. Just relentless performance.
That consistency is incredible. Not just winning, but always being right there, maximizing points every single weekend.
And leading that many laps just shows his ability to control races from the front.
So summing up that Honda period, say 2014 to 2019, the analysis paints him as a wild beast, right?
Yeah.
Almost unbeatable when the Honda was right.
Maximum attack, pushing the limits, corner after corner. That was the image.
Which feels quite different from the description of 2025 Marquez.
Yeah, a stark contrast. The talk now is more about maturity. A more calculated approach.
Fewer risks, maybe.
Well,
grabbing the points, thinking championship.
Exactly. Consistency, tactical intelligence during the race. It feels like a definite evolution from that raw, almost untamed aggression to something more strategic.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this calculated version ultimately more effective over a whole season?
It's fascinating to watch unfold. Okay, so how does this new Marquez stack up against his current teammate? Pecco Bagnaia himself, a two-time champ. He's no slouch.
Definitely not. But Bagnaia is, what, third in the points currently?
Yeah, and the analysis suggests maybe not quite the same consistency we're seeing from Marc, especially in race pace and maybe tire management over the distance.
Interesting. And there's that paddock chatter mentioned.
Yeah, the speculation that even with Bagnaia's obvious speed and talent, it might be Marquez's, quote, racing intelligence that gives him the edge for another title.
That's saying something. High praise.
It really highlights those, intangible things at this level. Speed gets you to the front, but reading the race, managing tires, making smart calls under pressure.
That can be the difference maker. And Marquez has always had that in spades.
Absolutely. He's consistently shown those qualities.
Which loops us right back to that central debate we started with. Which Marc is best? The unstoppable 21-4-2019 version, or this maybe more complete 2025 rider?
You can make a strong case for the early years purely based on the numbers, the sheer dominance, those consecutive wins, the points hauls. It was almost unchallenged supremacy at times.
But look at 2025. He's jumped onto a new bike, new manufacturer, in what looks like a super competitive field, and he's thriving.
Right. That maturity, reading the race better, fewer obvious mistakes maybe, it does point towards a more, let's say, well-rounded competitor. Perhaps ultimately tougher to beat week in, week out.
The provisional conclusion from the analysis is quite interesting. It says, while the Honda year cemented his legend through that pure, raw dominance.
The 2025 version seems to blend that aggression with smarter tactics, resilience after the injury, and this impressive adaptability to the Ducati.
So it really makes you ask, is this his most potent form ever?
It's a genuine question.
Okay, let's dive into some of the tech stuff, the riding style changes. The source mentioned some initial surprise seeing him on the Ducati. How different he looked.
Yeah, distinct from his Honda style and even different from Bagnaia or Martin on the same bike family. Mentioned a more upright riding position in photos.
Which suggests maybe a different way of interacting with the bike. Body position is huge for weight transfer, cornering.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental part of managing the bike's behavior, especially braking and entry.
And apparently Marc himself was a bit surprised by how quickly he adapted.
Yeah, the analysis called the improvement between FP1 and the race in Qatar stratospheric. He went from feeling the bike moved too much to finding a much better balance really quickly.
That rapid learning curve just highlights his feel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
His ability to understand and then exploit a new machine so fast.
It's a mark of a truly gifted rider, overcoming those initial struggles in basically no time at all.
Looking deeper at that Qatar race, the analysis noted better performance in right-handers and being fast on new and used tires.
Which is a big shift, maybe. The source suggested sometimes in the past he was stronger later in races, perhaps due to grid position or early laps.
So being quick right off the bat and maintaining it as the tires wear, that's a huge asset.
Incredibly valuable. Races can be decided early. Being competitive from lap 1 removes a potential handicap.
Shows Alex Marquez passing Marc, and the contrast in how their bikes behave under braking is supposedly really clear.
Yeah, the description was Alex's bike looked super stable, like a plank almost.
Whereas Marc's bike had this noticeable rocking motion, dipping at the front under braking, then squatting at the rear on acceleration.
Exactly. And importantly, this isn't instability. It's characteristic of his setup and technique on the Ducati.
And this rocking, this pitching, is actually key to how he's turning the bike so well.
That's the idea. It helps him rotate the bike, get it pointed where he wants, maybe more effectively than was possible on the Honda, loading the front on entry, then using the rear squat to drive out.
So he's using that weight transfer and the bike pitching fore and aft deliberately?
Skillfully using it, yeah. Getting the rear to squat helps use the rear tire for steering. It's a delicate balance, apparently. Trying that on the Honda often led to instability.
Right. The analysis then brought up rear vibration and the M damper.
The mass damper, yeah. To control those vibes. Different bikes and riders have different levels. KTM's, especially with Pedrosa testing, showed more rear movement.
Viñales on KTM apparently reduced it with more rear weight bias. And Marc on the Ducati. More rear freedom, more vibration than Bagnaia.
Seems so. It shows that intricate link between setup and style. More rear freedom aids agility, but can bring vibration. The suggestion is Marc might be right on a sweet spot.
Pushing it further could risk instability.
Potentially, yeah. It's a fine line they're riding.
But maybe the headline from all this technical stuff is his adaptability.
I think so. The analysis highlights his ability now to be both a smooth tracer, carrying corner speed,
and still bust out his traditional aggressive stop-start style when needed. all on the Ducati.
That versatility makes him incredibly hard to predict, hard to attack on track.
Able to adapt to different conditions, too. Dirty track, clean track, new tires, old tires.
Exactly, makes him a much more complete threat week after week.
And comparing that to Bagnaia again, Pecco's brilliant in high grip, sure.
But those perfect high grip conditions aren't every race weekend, are they?
Not at all. So Marc's all-around ability on this Ducati, which seems to handle multiple styles well.
Yeah.
It puts Pecco and maybe the rest of the grid at a disadvantage.
It suggests the Ducati package itself has reached this brutal compromise, as the source put it. It works well for different approaches, including Marc's evolving one.
Which leads to that future speculation. What if Ducati develops the chassis towards more of a tracer style, maybe favoring Bagnaia?
Would Marc adapt again? Or resist? It definitely could create some interesting team dynamics down the line.
Food for thought. Okay, so as we come towards the final lap of this deep dive, let's just quickly recap. We've tracked Marc Marquez from that unstoppable beast on the Honda
to what looks like a possibly even more complete, adaptable, and strategically sharp rider on the Ducati GP25 in 2025.
And that central question is still hanging there, isn't it? Will this 2025 version be seen as his ultimate peak?
Or will the memory, the legend of that seemingly invincible Honda-era Marc always define him? It's a really captivating thing to ponder.
And that leaves us with a final thought for everyone listening. Given Marc's incredible adaptability and the Ducati's current versatility, what assumptions about rider-bike compatibility in MotoGP might need a rethink?
Yeah, what does this whole situation tell us about how riders and bikes are constantly evolving at this absolute top level of racing?
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.